Good evening from Washington. I'm Larry O'Connor, and we continue our retrospective look at the Durham Report, and more importantly, what could have been if we didn't have an investigation into the Trump presidency from day one, from before day one. Well, there's one man who can give us some insight into that. He was the spokesperson for the White House during the Trump presidency. He's Sean Spicer, and he joins us now. Sean, thanks for being here.
Always good to be with you, Larry. Thank you for having me.
Listen, I've read your books and certainly your memoir where you talk about the beginning months of the Trump presidency, and clearly it wasn't easy given this looming media obsession with Russian collusion. Now that the Durham Report's out and you know that you always knew that there was nothing there, but the fact that the FBI literally had no evidence when they started this investigation, what could have been if they had actually followed the law?
Yeah, you think about how many days were consumed with this subject, how many people's lives were ruined, how many dollars are spent defending reputations, how many tax dollars through the Mueller report was spent. People don't fully appreciate the fact that even when you're not a target of an investigation, someone like me, and you're called in for 8 hours, it's a lawyer who has, a couple assistants and a paralegal. The bills mount up real quick. So what this did was undermine public confidence in institutions. It cost people a lot of money. It burnished reputations. But it goes back to the broader point of what you're asking as well, which is what could have been. Can you imagine all of the things that we could have been talking about or accomplishing if we hadn't been focused on this? And I think that it's tough because you realize how many people are now convinced that President Trump and his team did something that you're unable to ring the bell, right?
Right.
Can't go back in time and say, because it's like any other correction in the media. And so we've seen now, again, the Durham Report, we've seen 51 officials lie about a letter that they wrote. You've seen the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop. And I tweeted this out the other day. If people are concerned about voter interference in our election, well, you have to look no further than some of the biggest institutions in our country, the FBI, the DoJ, these intelligence officials, the media. That's election interference. That is suppression.
100%. And by the way, you talk about, how many millions of dollars, how much time, how about all the questions you had to field at those press briefings where they kept hammering you and going nuts about the Russian collusion and the Trump Tower meeting and all that, and none of it was real, but you had to waste your time on that, which again also fed into this, you talk about unringing the bell, it fed into this perception that there was chaos at the Trump White House and that they were hiding something, and there was nothing to hide. You were actually...
Right. Yeah. Well, it's funny, I was telling someone the other day, remember the fact that towards the end of the campaign, the narrative was that we were a bunch of nimwits that couldn't coordinate with each other, and then suddenly we're coordinating with Russia.
Right.
It was an excuse, I think, because the media got it so wrong and because the Democrats blew it so badly, they needed to find some way to explain away their poor performance from Hillary Clinton. And this was it.
Yeah.
You're right. How many days did I spend answering questions? But the beautiful thing about it is it's when you're trying to answer for something that doesn't exist, as we did every day. I remember famously, there's a clip that's resurfaced where I said, if the president puts Russian salad dressing on his salad tonight, that's a Russia connection.
I remember that, yeah.
And then it was, the media bought it hook, line, and sinker, as they did with that fake letter hours before the first debate. And This is what they're willing to do. They are willing to. And then, you look, by the way, at these allegations that Jim Comer has made about Hunter Biden and the Biden family, and they won't pay any attention to them. It's amazing what they will pay attention to and what they won't.
So, Sean, you've been around this town for a couple of decades now, and in politics, you're a conservative Republican. Our instinct is to defend law enforcement. Our instinct is, no, the FBI are the good guys. But this is a very, very strange time now where, frankly, most of us, we've lost faith in this institution. What do you think is the way forward? And also politically, the fact that we're on the brink of the next presidential election, President Trump, again, is one of the candidates. How do you think the other Republicans sort of work with this news, work with the fact that Trump is in the campaign again, and sort of hang on to this same narrative, that if DeSantis gets in next week, as is being reported now, he should be coming after the FBI and the DOJ with the same gusto that Trump is, right?
Yeah, look, the first thing that you asked is really the key. How do we move on? Because when institutions that we're supposed to trust to protect us, to look out for the best interests of this country, we know now, again, we go back, it's not just one incident, right? It's the suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop. It's the 51 people, 51 intelligence officials ranging all these various agencies telling us that it was Russian disinformation. They knew it was a lie then. They knew they were doing it for political purposes just because they detested Trump. Then you also combine that now with this Durham report showing that they made up this entire narrative. I mean, I think the only answer is to clean house, because, and then again, take it a step further to the institution that is the media, the fourth branch of government that people like to say. We know now very clearly, very distinctly, that the media lied and carried the water of several aspects of misinformation. And then secondly, they suppressed stories which would have benefited President Trump. And so I think collectively speaking, we have to start to figure out where these new institutions will pop up from. Independent journalism is, I think, the wave of the future on that front. And then on the other ones, I think you're asking a great question, and it's got to continue to get asked, because if people don't believe the FBI, they don't believe the Department of Justice, then we're in big trouble.
Yeah. I'll agree with that for sure. But what about the House Republicans now? You know, there's a proposal that's been presented to expel Adam Schiff from the House because of the lies that he told. He abused his position as chairman of the Intelligence Committee. He wasted taxpayer money on chasing down a non-story, a non-issue. Should Republicans be aggressive? Should Republicans move for expelling Schiff and even some impeachments?
Well, I think that we should definitely explore this further, right? This is a guy who said on the record on multiple times, I have seen the evidence of Russian collusion. Okay, well, now that we know that the Durham report shows that there wasn't any, I think that it's incumbent upon these same reporters that carried the water to ask him, okay, where do you stand now? What have you seen? Because apparently the DOJ didn't see it, the FBI didn't see it, so you're lying and you spread misinformation. And then I do think that his colleagues, I mean, there's several steps. I think that his colleagues should have hearings. The Intelligence Committee should probably do something. The Oversight Committee could do something. But I think instead of just expelling him, which is probably the easiest thing to do, is and again, what I worry about that, Larry, is the precedent it sets, which is, you know, he is still an elected member from California. He won't exist after this cycle because he's running for the Senate. So we know he's gone. My point is, I think if we start going down this thing of expelling the other side's members, when we get back into the minority, and it will happen, unfortunately, at some point in the next 10 or 20 years, we're going to have a hard time stopping them from saying, okay, well, so-and-so lied, and we're going to get them out. That being said, to the nut of your question, I do believe that there needs to be very, very broad oversight into this so that we expose him and whoever was complicit with him. Because that's the thing, is that the more sunlight that we shed on this, it prevents anyone from trying to do it again, knowing that they're going to get caught and exposed for the liars that they are. So I would argue that instead of just having a vote, which is easy to do, frankly, I think that we lay out the case for the American people because, getting back to that idea of unringing the bell, I think what we need to do is show the American people how complicit some of these leftist members of Congress were, how complicit the media was, and just really start to lay out the case so that people who might not have seen the 1 or 2 second story that NBC News played on this start to see what a web this was of people all acting in concert together to undermine one political party and candidate.
Sean Spicer, children's book author, by the way, The Parrots Go Bananas. It's a good one.
SpicerBook.com.
There you go. Say it again. Say it again.
It's actually the best place to go right now is Sean M. Spicer at YouTube. Follow me there. All new content where I come out every day and talk about what's happening, and an announcement coming very soon.
Yes, we're looking forward to the announcement of your brand new production. Thank you, Sean. There's more to come on O'Connor Tonight, this old production.